Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the annual induction ceremony for the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. My name is Chris Hodges, and I am extremely pleased and privileged to once again have been asked to be your Master of Ceremonies for this evening. Tonight marks the 14th year that the Hall has formally welcomed its new class of inductees into the ranks, and it is an exceptional array of talent being honored this evening. This year's inductees run the gamut, whether it be individual athletes, duos, teams, or even tournaments. Now, whether it's extolling the virtues of a magnificent multi-sport athlete, as we will later tonight, or a superb softballer, a basketball builder, or two terrific twirlers, tonight's inductees all share the same common threads, and that is an unquenchable thirst for excellence in their respective sports, a lifetime of commitment to furthering their sport for the next generation, and all of them along the way have represented Regina with class and distinction. We will get to our inductees in just a few moments, but before I do, I would like to take a brief moment to introduce to you tonight the Board of Directors for the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, many of whom are in attendance here tonight. So I'll ask you to hold your applause until we get to the end of the list, and we'll start things off with our President, Frank Kovacs. Past President is Daryl Davis, who I've seen here tonight. Doug McCaw, Vice President. The Ceremony Chair is Kathy Glasser. We also in the room tonight have Marlene Hoffman and Brad Howard, Ron Nugent, Murray McCormick, I believe, sends his regrets, still convalescing from a hip surgery. Jim Park I've seen here tonight, as I have also seen Rod Schmidt, and Barry Tamman, the Board of Directors for the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. I have always been impressed by the number of past inductees that continue to create space in their very busy lives for this evening in order to welcome the newest inductees into the Hall of Fame. And as is the case each and every year, we are honored to have a number of those past inductees in the room this evening. I would now ask at this time that all of the previous inductees to the Regina Sports Hall of Fame please stand and be acknowledged. Congratulations again on an annual basis to you all for your previous inductions into the Hall of Fame, and it is tremendously wonderful to see you here tonight. Now, one of the hallmarks of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony is that it is traditionally held on the Thursday heading into the Thanksgiving weekend, which is why we are all here tonight. And that is a date that is carefully chosen by the committee, and it's done so that our inductees can have the opportunity to share their evening with family, and that the families can make the necessary arrangements to make the travel here to Regina if, in fact, it is required. As we all know, a life dedicated to the pursuit of athletic excellence comes with a price, and it is often coming in the form of the countless highway miles or the weekends spent away from home. And as all of our inductees tonight and those who have been enshrined in the past will attest, support from family is critical. Sadly, though, we did lose a member of our family this week with the passing of Marnie Eistetter. Marnie, as many of us in the room know, was a tireless advocate for amateur sports for decades, most notably for the sport of synchronized swimming. It was her work and passion for her athletes and coaches that earned her enshrinement, not only into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, but also into the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame as well. Outspoken and at times outlandish, Marnie's passing leaves a large hole in the local sports landscape, and she will be sorely missed by her friends and peers in the community. Now, we thought that it might be appropriate to have a brief moment of silence to honor Marnie's passing, but if anybody knew Marnie, they would know that Marnie hated silence. And so with that, we ask you to think kindly of her this evening and for her family as well. The Regina Sports Hall of Fame's permanent location is on the main floor of the Cooperator Center at Everest Place, just around the corner and down the stairs. That is where you'll find all of the inductees, not only the inductees this year, but also the past inductees proudly displayed. Now at this time, I would like to invite Frank Kovacs, the President of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, to give welcome on behalf of the Board of Directors. And I would like to point out, for the benefit of those in the room that don't know, when he's not acting as the President of the Board, Frank is a City of Regina police officer. And I should also point out that it is a considerably greater pleasure to welcome Frank on my terms rather than on his terms. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Kovacs.
the great thing about my job is I know where you live and what you drive and what you do. Everything. Anyways, thank you, Chris, for the kind introduction and for being the MC for the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. Chris does an amazing job year after year and is a huge part in the success of our induction ceremony. As Chris mentioned, I am Frank Kovacs, the president of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, and I'm so very proud to be a part of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame as a past inductee and now as the president. For the 14th straight year, the Regina Sports Hall of Fame is honoring people who have contributed to sports within the city by inducting them into the hall. There are now 84 inductees in the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, 34 athletes, 33 builders, 13 teams, and 4 patrons. There are also 150 honorary members with Regina connections who had previously been inducted into the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame. The Regina Sports Hall of Fame is a non-profit organization that was formed to honor athletes, builders, teams, and patrons who have contributed to sports in Regina. I would like to take this time to congratulate this wonderful class of 2016 inductees. I'm very pleased to say that I know 3 of the 2016 inductees personally. Congratulations to Glenn Ficula, who was my phys ed teacher at Belford Collegiate, Greg Feger, who I play old timers hockey against now, and also Drew Callender, who is a former co-worker at the Regina Police Service. And as I was talking with people before the ceremony, I recognized a number of past inductees in attendance, like Chris said, and thanks guys for being here. It's great to see you, and thanks for the support. Being an organization involved with sports, we all know that how very important working together as a team is. Teamwork is essential to having success, and that is no different with Regina Sports Hall of Fame. We are made up of the executive board members who do so much work behind the scenes to make the hall a huge success. I know Chris mentioned them. Thank you very much, guys. Do a great job. All of us are either members of the hall or have a passion to honor people who have contributed to the sport in Regina. Another big part of our success has come from some major sponsors and supporters. I would like to acknowledge the following. Everest Place for allowing us to have our Regina Sports Hall of Fame display board at the Cooperators Hockey Rink. Molson, who is our founding sponsor, and here in attendance is from Molson is Nick Mazurek. SAS Sports Hall of Fame, who's our primary backer, who initiated this Regina Sports Hall of Fame. And here from the SAS Call is the president, Linda Burnham, and director, Nathan Morrison. Thank you guys for coming. University of Regina, who is the original home of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. And last but not least, the Queensberry for putting on the amazing food and the event here. Last but not least, I want to thank all of you here tonight. As I look over the crowd here, it's amazing how many people came here tonight to support the Regina Sports Hall of Fame and the 2016 inductees. It's a great thing to see. Unofficially, this is the largest group of attendees that we've had in the Regina Sports Hall of Fame history. So again, thanks again so much for coming and supporting us. I hope you guys have a great night. Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
And now, without any further ado, let us meet the inductees into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2016. The Regina Sports Hall of Fame, as we all know, is about honoring the past and inspiring the future, and we are pleased to officially enshrine the 2016 induction class. Our first inductee this evening is Greg Feger, an athlete, multi-sport. It is difficult to find anyone in Regina in their mid to late 50s who did not line up against or with Greg Feger at some point along the way. Like so many others in the hall, Greg was a product of the Junior Rams football program, suiting up for the Rams from 1976 through 1979. Greg made an immediate individual impact and enjoyed team success as a member of the Rams program, winning the Rookie of the Year honors in '76 to go alongside a championship ring that same year. Greg won the Gord Curry Leadership Award in 1977 and the team MVP, and was named a Prairie Football Conference All-Star as the league's top running back in 1979. Following his junior football success, Greg made the jump to the CFL, playing 99 games over 7 seasons as a member of both the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Calgary Stampeders. Upon the completion of his CFL career, Greg had 186 receptions for 1,790 yards and had rushed for an additional 1,135 yards, scoring 13 touchdowns along the way. Interestingly enough, Greg also threw a pass in the CFL. But like so many of the passes thrown by the Riders in that '84 season, it fell to the ground uncaught. Greg's football career alone would make him worthy of induction and enshrinement into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. But Greg also played 100 games of junior hockey for the Regina Pats before moving to the ranks of the CIAU to play as a member of the University of Regina Cougars. In 2 of his seasons with the Cougars, his sports schedules overlapped as he played for both the Rams and the university hockey side. Greg was part of 3 runs to the CIAU National Championships in his time at the University of Regina, coming closest to the National Championship banner in his final season, ultimately ending in a gold medal final loss to the University of Alberta. Greg was the team representative with the CFL Players Association before being elected secretary from 1986 through 88. He was also the first vice president from 1989 through 1992. Not surprisingly, he gives back tirelessly in the volunteer ranks. He worked as being part of the 1995 Grey Cup committee, was an assistant football coach at Leopoldus, chairing numerous Cougar athletics banquets, kids sports golf tournaments, and CFL alumni luncheons. He is truly a man for all sports seasons and is an honoree worthy of induction into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Feger.
First off, congratulations to all the inductees of 2016. I'm really honored to be among you. It feels like game day because I've had a couple of nervous pees. I've had to go back there. And I've been drinking lots of water so I don't cramp up in the time that I'm up here, so I think we'll be okay on that front. And looking at the pictures, you know, people asking, what are your memories of that time? And it's, remember bruised knuckles and sort of scrapes on my knuckles from hockey. And I remember turf burn from the old asphalt turf that we used to play on. The odd sort of cast, crutches the odd occasion, that kind of thing. So those are some of the memories that that pictures bring back. And I grew up in an area of multi-sport, or an era of multi-sport athletes. It's very common, you know, to have the same teammates back then, playing baseball in the spring, playing football in the summer and fall, playing hockey in the winter time, and other sports. That others were involved in track, rugby, team handball, amongst other things. So I'm really honored to be here this evening in front of you and accepting this induction. Really on behalf of multi-sport athletes from that era, because there's lots of them that could also be up here. Thanks to the committee for confirming the induction, simultaneously thrilled and humbled. Thanks to my golf buddy Howard Jesse for initiating the nomination, and for my son Aidan Feger and brother-in-law Barry Clark for supporting Howard in this effort. It's awesome to have tables representing many of the teams. The Ryder alumni here, there's Ram alumni here, there's Cougar alumni here as well, and I know there's representatives from the Regina Pat organization here as well. Frankie, as I look around the room, there's no Calgary Stampeder alumni table, so I guess they didn't get the invite to be here this evening. I want to also acknowledge and thank the 40-plus friends and family that are here with us at the tables, and maybe it was the Feger family that put part of it over the top anyway, and others that are here this evening. Congratulations on being the best crowd. Specifically this evening, I'd like to shine the light on my mother, Marie Feger, who is here at the front table. Mom's 97 years young, an amazing woman. She role models living with a positive, optimistic outlook on life. Role models fitness. She walks at least 3 to 4 kilometers a day inside Wintergreen when the weather isn't conducive to going outside, but outside when she can. And she certainly role models a life of caring, of giving, and of perseverance. So Mom, we're really thrilled. I'm thrilled that you're here with us this evening. I know you're loved much from myself to you, love you very much, and from all the family that are here, I know they love you very much. So the 10-year period that's being recognized by my induction began 40 years ago and wound down 30 years ago. For many of you in the room, that's more than a lifetime ago. This nomination, though, has really caused me to reflect on that phase of my life. The reflection itself has been wonderful, really reconnecting with a period that was full of emotional highs and lows, of satisfying conquest, perilous challenges, demoralizing losses, and low points. Most of all, however, it was a ton of fun. A phase of life characterized by the 3 Ps, and I quote Reg Higgs for the Cougar buddies that are here: practice hard, play hard, party hard. This nomination has really reinforced for me the value of remembering, and it's been wonderful and a true blessing, so thank you for that. I hope you don't mind me sharing just 3 themes from that trip down memory lane. The first theme is it takes a community to raise a child, and in my case, to raise an athlete and a man. I mean, there's several examples of how individuals made a point to care, to go out of their way to support, encourage, and guide me along the way. And I'll share a few of these to illustrate my point, but these examples are really meant to be illustrative, and there's a lot of other people who have done that for me that aren't highlighted this evening, and certainly just want to make that point. But I'll start in Campion High School, an all-boys school here, when I was playing midget AAA in the Regina Pat Blues, which was SJHL at the time. Every year, under the coaches at that time, the team was asked to vote. Can Greg play in the games? Because he can never be here for practice. Like, he's always on the road with hockey or playing games, and hockey was the priority sport. Every year, that team voted yes. Yes, he can play in the games. And really, that yes vote set the foundation for a career that was yet to come. So I'm really appreciative of that. After the 75-76 season, I was leaving the Pats. Brenda and I, my wife, were getting married and becoming a family with our daughter Megan. And Normie Fong, who was the equipment manager with the Pats and also with the Rams at the time, encouraged me to talk to Gord Curry. Normie encouraged me not to quit sports altogether. And then there's Gord Curry, so having a conversation with Gord, and everyone that knows Gord knows the type of gentleman and that he is. He opened the door for me to actually try out with the Rams. And then all the subsequent coaches and so on that helped me hone the skills, through that era. Then there's the Ram Board of Directors who are represented here as well, a wonderfully committed group of volunteers who wrapped their arms around me, around Brenda, around Megan, with us, and really made us part of their family. And a special call out to Scotty Livingston, who hired me in jobs so we could earn enough money, to make things go and make things meet back then, and really supported us financially. So way beyond the field in the nature of the support. Then there's, with the Cougars, Ross Mahoney and others who encouraged me to come out for the team and try out after I'd quit the Pats. And Reg Higgs, the head coach, who made it okay and maybe even a little bit cool, to finish the football season before even showing up for practice. So it was like November, because that was the era of the Rams. We went to the playoffs minimally and often to the national finals. And then begin playing games in January. So again, that kind of flexibility that was shown by Reg and the team at the time. And then Ronnie Lancaster as head coach in 79-80. 79 was my first training camp. 80 stayed with the team. But he took a chance on another young Canadian. And then Joe Faragelli continued Ronnie's bet after he was fired and trusted me to start in the backfield as a young Canadian. I told the rider, players, coaches, and staff who made it a priority to join our family. Bear with me on this. I apologize if I cry a little bit. But they joined our family at the funerals of 3 of our loved ones who left us way too young in that era, but the team rallied, and they were there. The rider players, some of them here in the room who took the risk of electing me as a player representative on the team. Again, which ultimately led to to being involved with the Players Association. Steve Mazurek, who's in the room as the paid executive director at the time, having the opportunity to work with George Reed, who was president through that era as well. So the list, there's just so many examples of community and supporting me and our family through that era. Going to Calgary, Steve Barato, traded for Bob Poley, myself, Jerry Hornett, really appreciated it. What did he get in return? He got fired 6 games into the season. And the irony in all of that is I got the Coaches Award for the most outstanding offensive player of the team that year. And we were in a room like this, and I said, I think the only criteria was that you had to be on the roster every regular season game, because I was the only one on offense that actually been on the roster every season. We had it's a bad year when your MVP in offense is a slow Canadian running back. So again, these examples illustrate the importance and value that can arise from caring, from supporting, from taking action to open the door. And the other person must choose to walk through that door, but caring, supporting, and taking action sets the stage for what might become something really special. The other theme, very quickly, is triumph and defeat are very, very close cousins. In the 79 season, very quickly, a wonderful opportunity to get to that national championships here in Regina with the Cougars. We were host team, played the U of A in the final game, the championship game, and we lost. And in the moment, you think about the loss. But really, we don't think about the victory of actually getting to that point in that season until later when you start to reflect. That same year, with the Rams, we went to the national championship in 79. Hamilton, I believe, played Ottawa Sooners, lost that game. 13-9. We hadn't scored less than 25 points as an offense all year until that game. And I didn't have a very good game. Marshall Hamilton, our quarterback, got hurt in one of the first series, and it was really an uphill battle from there. So the victory of being there often gets overshadowed in the moment by the loss, in the sense of loss and defeat. But they're very close cousins. The third theme, very quickly, sports should be fun, and let the kids play. I appreciate the multi-sport category and my nomination in that and the induction in that. And I think I've shared how people were flexible and supportive of me playing the different sports all the way through, right through high school and beyond high school. And I worry a little bit how we're streaming kids these days, and really look to coaches and managers and those around these kids to create opportunities for kids to look at other options as well, and encourage them and support them, being flexible and doing everything you can to help them get lots of variety of experiences that way as well. So in closing, and I really do want to shine the light on my wife of 40 years, Brenda, who's here with Micah, one of our granddaughters. We've had a wonderful run, not without its challenges, but I've known you've always been there to support me in the journey. I love you for your support, your patience, and at times your forgiveness. Lord knows I'm not the easiest person to live with. Thank you. I love you dearly. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the ceremony.
Our next inductee into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame 2016 induction class is a bit of it's a new twist for us at the Hall. The next inductee this evening is the Luther Invitational Basketball Tournament, a patron in the sport of basketball. Founded in 1953 on the initiative of then senior basketball coach John Tomei, the Luther Invitational Tournament is synonymous with the sport of basketball here in Regina. Heading into its 65th installment, the LIT is the longest continuously run boys high school basketball tournament in the country. It is the crown jewel in the Queen City basketball calendar. In fact, it is such a hot ticket for the Regina teams to get into that there is a pre-LIT just to see who qualifies. In 2012, the LIT became a co-ed affair with the inclusion of the Challenge Cup, and last year the tournament expanded to offer a 4-team girls draw. And not surprisingly, and perhaps fittingly, it was the host Lions that won the inaugural women's event with a victory over Leopoldus in the final. Now, I remember my first experience with the LIT. I was still relatively new to the CTV Regina Sports Den and was sent to the 2004 tournament to shoot highlights for Late Sports. It was the last match of the evening, and so, as is the case, it featured the host Lions. Finally able to find a parking space somewhere about 2/3 of the way to the depot, I trudged my way to the school with my camera and my tripod in tow. I walked into the old gym and was met by this massive humanity, the likes of which I had never seen before. 1,500 people in a gym that comfortably seats 700. I was asked where to set up, and I was pointed in the direction of the media bench in the farthest corner of the gym. Now, the only way to get there, and for anybody who has had the luxury and the privilege of going to the LIT, you would know that you would have to step over the scores of students who were sitting cross-legged as they line the edges of the perimeter of the court. And once I found that farthest corner of the gym, I had to shimmy my way along the edge of the bleachers in order to gain access to the media bench. It took forever to get there, and when I finally did arrive, I found myself on a pirate's perch about a third the size of my first car. I was sharing the space with Rob Vanstone and Ian Hamilton, the leader post. Ian had wedged himself up against the wall as far as he possibly could on this side, and Rob had done that thing with the chair to shimmy over in order to give me a little bit of room to set up my camera and my tripod. It took some serious finagling to get the camera on the sticks without taking out someone's eye. And when I finally got set up, I turned to Ian and I said in a most exasperated tone, "Well, this is..." And I remembered that he smiled at me and he said, "No, this is the LIT." Now, the list of notable players who played at the Luther Invitational Tournament reads like a who's who of Canadian basketball. Two-time Olympian Carl Tilleman, who former Canadian Olympic coach Jack Donahue once called the best three-point shooter in the world, played at the LIT in the late 70s with his team from Winston Churchill in Calgary. Richard Bonney, who would eventually go on to break all of Tilleman's scoring records at the University of Calgary, played in the LIT in the late 80s as a member of the Raymond Comets. And Irfan Nazishpour, who amazed Regina basketball fans and confounded Cougar coaches for 4 years as a member of the University of Winnipeg Westmans, gave Regina basketball fans a bit of a taste of things to come in the 2012 LIT final. He had a quadruple double and helped the Daniel Mack Maroons to the crown with a win over Riffle. It's a tournament that has spanned some 6.5 decades, so not surprisingly, there are bound to be indelible on-court moments, and every generation of LIT supporters has their own. Most recently, perhaps, it's the back-to-back championships by Leboldus after years of LIT heartbreak. For those who are a bit older, perhaps it's Mark Van Burk's 50-point performance in the 2006 tournament. And for those who are of another vintage, perhaps it's Luther's Bill Knutson sinking the desperation half-court heave at the final buzzer, forcing the tie as the Lions would eventually go on to beat Leboldus in the overtime of the '84 final. But the thing that truly separates LIT from other basketball tournaments is the fact that it is more than just a tournament. It's an event, it's a spectacle. It's the theme, it's the artwork, it's the banquet, the player social. It's the pre-tournament media conference, the finale video, all of the things that are outside the game that make the LIT truly special. And the annual event is organized by Luther's student body. Everything from the media to the decorations to the hosting duties to the scorekeeping to the concessions to the cleanup is all handled by committees comprised of high school students. It promotes the value of volunteering and leadership, and it should be noted that this marks the first time that an event has been recognized for induction into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, and it is truly an event worthy of its enshrinement in the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, accepting on behalf of the Luther Invitational Tournament is Troy Casper.
I have to bring up some students just to make sure we had some pictures. I know their parents would want the pictures. It's a new twist this year, and it's a little different from me because how do you give a speech not about yourself, but about 64 years of an event? I'm not sure where you start with that. So when I first started, I thought, well, let's look at the category and the people that are here. And so I started thinking about when I actually went to LIT, when I was a grade 6, 7, 8. Kind of player basketball. I thought about when I played in LIT when I was a student at Luther College. And I started thinking about Glenn Facula, how many times he's been there. I started looking at Leah Holiday, who I grew up with, her brother. So where do I start with this whole community thing? Greg Fieger, who I grew up watching on the Pats, watching on the Riders. I was Greg Fieger on the playground. I literally was. And I started thinking about the 19 years of teaching experience I have at Luther, coaching at the university, and really all the things I've known about it. So it's a great privilege for me personally to be up here on behalf of the school and on behalf of the tournament itself and the 64 years of people that have been involved in this tournament. We want to make sure we thank the committee for the induction this evening and Mike O'Donnell for putting the application forward. Now I'll start reading what I'd actually put down. It's truly a privilege to be inducted with this evening alongside so many great people, athletes, and teams. As I said, my name is Troy Casper. I've been a player, I've been a spectator, a teacher, and the current director of the Luther Invitational Tournament. The Luther Invitational Basketball Tournament is, if it isn't already, it is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, running high school basketball tournament in the country. So over the past 64 years, it's tough to give the thanks that's due and all the recognition to all those that were involved. It's virtually impossible in one night in about 7 or 8 minutes. We'll see how that goes. But it has turned into a showcase of high school basketball players, both girls and guys. And we're very proud of that, the fact that it's male and female, starting, I know, a number of years ago in a full-on tournament last year. So it goes without being said that there are so many people over 64 years that we just can't give recognition to all of them. The tournament started to really develop in the framework it is known now in the early 70s with a gentleman by the name of Jerry Harris. And he essentially gave the tournament back to the students at that point, alongside Dick Stark, and both these gentlemen are both inductees into the Hall of Fame for other reasons besides this. So in the early 70s, the tournament had, took on many, many goals. But the pillars of this LIT involved the more than 70 grade 11 and 12 students every year that volunteer their time just in grade 11 and 12. The many grade 9 and 10 students that volunteer for the doors, for the concessions, for everything that we need them to do. The many, many advisors, the 9 or 10 advisors that are involved with these students and allowing them to be as creative as they possibly can. And that creativity shows every single year and astonishes me every single year. But it's also the Luther community, but more importantly the Regina community that has absorbed and accepted this tournament as what it is. And that's really what it's about. Many of the goals are about community, to create a platform. It originally started with 16 teams playing cross-court, very few fans. At that time was a very big gym, but quite a small gym now that we just heard about. And it's turned into this showcase where people want to see not just great action in basketball, but many other items. So every year this tournament starts with the grade 11 and 12 committees and finishes with a wrap-up video that really has very little to do with basketball and more about the students themselves and the community that's around. See, this tournament we want to show with these committees, the reason we have committees is they have applications. It's about giving these students an opportunity to showcase themselves, to apply for something that they are loyal to, and that loyalty pays off throughout the entire weekend and for the months before. Meeting after meeting, week after week, sometimes multiple meetings in a week. They show up dedicated as always. So it's true of this in high school sport and sport in general. That's what sport does. Sports gives us this. It takes a community to run sport. It takes a community to support all the sports that are out there. So high school sport has so many benefits for our youth, and there's so many advantages to be involved with high school athletics. But it's not just about the athletes. One of the major goals is it's about, yes, the players, the trainers, the team managers, the organizing committees, the volunteers, the parents, the time that is spent by all of you and all of our students and parents at the school. You see, this result creates an atmosphere of respect. It creates an atmosphere of sportsmanship and an atmosphere of unprecedented spirit. So I look back at all the inductees tonight, and I think about all the time you've spent and the time that we've spent, but all the people that are behind the scenes and all the time they've spent. It's difficult to relay all that can be said about this tournament. So I just wanted to extend some insight to as many people as I could. So over the last 2 weeks, I've sent many emails to different people from Toronto, Boston, Winnipeg, many communities around Saskatchewan, many schools around Saskatchewan, to see if I couldn't get something from them, because I'm just one person with a voice for them. So all these organizations and cities from across the province and many cities across Canada and even into the States, I asked them to send small video clips. I never knew how hard it was going to be to get 6 or 7 or 8 videos in 6 or 7 different formats on 6 or 7 different things that are sent to my different phone, and I have to get this and that and this, and I ask our film department to help me out. Never knew how difficult it would be, but it's nowhere near the price that our students pay and the time they give. It's a small price to pay. So I'd like to end tonight with a small video. It's about a 7-minute video from different people from around all over the place that have sent a small video talking about LIT and what it meant to them.
It represents so much of what we stand for. It builds community, it builds sportsmanship, it involves students, it challenges students to become citizens, to take responsibility, to practice hospitality, to It challenges our athletes to be the best that they can be athletically, to hone skills, to develop as people.
My name is Lindsay Duncombe. I'm a high school grad from Luther College, 1996, and I know from my cousins and my classmates who played in the Invitational Tournament that this really can be the start of giving back to basketball in the province, as many of them continue to be involved with their children as players themselves and as coaches. But for me, my LIT experience was because I was the chair of the entertainment committee, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize about the basketball tournament tradition at Luther, is that all of the students get involved, and it involves all aspects of the high school.
Hi there, my name's Tanner Brightman. I'm currently the Under-17 Basketball Saskatchewan coach. I've been fortunate enough to play here at the LIT with the Balfour Senior Boys a few years ago. And I can tell you right now that basketball in our province is better off because of the LIT. All the top players consistently play in LIT here, which makes our job with Basketball Saskatchewan that much easier here to identify the top players and to get them involved in our summer programming. So LIT here, thanks for bringing everybody together.
I was a teacher here from 1974 to 2006. I was the LIT director for that time as well. It was a great it's a great tournament, and I enjoyed being part of it because of the sportsmanship that was displayed or what was emphasized. But most important was the student involvement. How excited they get for the tournament, how organized they were, and their passion to have everything done in a class manner was something that was always done from year to year on a traditional basis, and very, very fortunate to have some great people involved in the tournament.
So on behalf of LIT and the organization of Luther College and all of us that were involved, I want to give a quick note to the students that we brought with us and the players that were here with us. There's committee members, there's players, and they're very special people, especially at our school, because they're the ones that control and work this tournament. So if I can get you to just wave, even stand up and wave to the students, please, if you would. Again, congratulations to all those inductees tonight, and thank you for what you do for Regina sport and community sport. Thank you.
Our next inductee this evening is Karen Thull, an athlete in the sport of softball. As a member of the Regina Fighting Saints, Karen was a city champion in both 1985 and 1986 and a provincial champion in 1985. While attending F.W. Johnson, Karen was a high school softball champion in 1989, 1992, and again in 1990 and again in 1992. She was a member of Saskatchewan's gold medal team at the 1990 Western Canada Games in Winnipeg and a silver medalist at the 1993 Canada Games in Kamloops, British Columbia. Karen parlayed her softball skills and her success into an opportunity to play at the collegiate level for Simon Fraser University in Burnaby. While at SFU, Karen left an indelible mark on the program, winning regional championships in 1995 and again in 1997. A two-year captain at Simon Fraser, Karen was selected to the Pacific Northwest All-Conference team in 1995, 1996, and again in 1997. Statistically speaking, 96 was her best season. She led the team with a .350 batting average and was ultimately named Conference Player of the Year. In preparation for tonight's event, I had the opportunity to speak with SFU head coach Mike Rennie this week. I told him that Karen was being inducted into the Hall. We spoke for about 10 minutes. And it became very clear to me in a very short period of time that for a coach who has been around for a number of years and one who has seen countless athletes come and go from his program, that Karen made an impact. Upon hearing that she was heading into the Hall this evening, Coach Rennie offered up the following comments. Soft-spoken in her demeanor and possessing a dry and infectious wit, Karen was a delight to coach. A leader by example, she remains to this day one of my all-time favorite players to have played for our program. By the time she left Simon Fraser, her name was all over the team's record book. Many of her marks have since been surpassed, but she does remain one of the very best to have played for the program and one of the athletes that we're proud to call a member of our alumni. Karen is certainly worthy of her selection to the Regina Sports Hall of Fame with her outstanding athleticism, and it was only matched by her strength of character. I congratulate the selection committee on this nomination and, of course, congratulate Karen herself on this honor. It was a privilege to coach her while she was at SF, and we are grateful that she came our way. Now, of the many stories that he shared, there was one in particular that I thought might be worth offering up this morning. For those who don't know, SFU's campus sits atop Burnaby Mountain. Apparently one day, Karen decided to walk down to the bottom of the mountain, perhaps to get a sense of her surroundings. She then decided that she would walk around the mountain, thinking that it would be a delightful amble on a gorgeous lower mainland day. Mike says it became clear that there aren't a lot of mountains where she's from, as the circumnavigation of any mountain is a considerably longer task than one would normally take on, and this delightful amble ultimately turned into a 5-hour army hike. To the best of his knowledge, it was a mistake that she made only once. Now, upon the completion of her collegiate career, Karen continued to be a mainstay on the diamond, playing elite-level softball, winning a Senior A Women's Championship title with DBJ Leasing out of Saskatoon in 2000, and with Manitoba Smitties in 2003. She was recognized as an all-star at both the 2002 and 2003 Canadian Championships. Internationally, she was a member of the Canadian National Team Development Pool from 1996 through 2004, Canada Cup champions in 1996, and an alternate to the 1996 Olympic team that competed in Atlanta. She participated in 9 international tournaments, including a bronze medal win in Medellin, Colombia in 1997, and it was that win that helped Canada qualify for the 1998 ISF Championships in Japan and the 1999 Pan American Games in Winnipeg. The best of her playing days behind her, she continues to give back tirelessly to the sport that gave her so much. A coach of Softball Saskatchewan's Sask First program, Karen was an assistant at the 2013 Canada Games in Sherbrooke, Quebec, and will do so again next summer when the Canada Games are held in Winnipeg. She has served on the management committee for the Saskatchewan branch of the Canadian Sports Centre and has served as both coach and clinician with the Regina Minor Girls Softball League and is currently coaching at the Martin Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a member of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame's 2016 induction class, Karen Thull.
Good evening. Pat Canadians, Leah and Jen, I'm certainly jealous of your induction tonight with your teammates. Don't get me wrong, my family's here, some friends and colleagues, and they're super fun too. But I couldn't have done or did do anything on my own that led to any of those successes. And the teammates were just the start. Also wanted to congratulate Mr. Ficula. When I started teaching, you let me coach the softball team at Balfour with you. And your research found us a tournament in Manitoba, and your leadership got us there. So just this past May, I returned to that tournament with a new group of high school athletes, so your legacy reaches into the future and to many sports. Congratulations once again to all of tonight's inductees. My earliest memory of hitting a ball well happened in the back alley behind the house that I grew up in, and resulted in my younger sister losing her 2 front teeth. It was evident then that she was the toughest of the sisters, because I'm sure I cried first. And so she continues to demonstrate how strong a woman can be, but she did stop pitching to me. And I come from a long line of strong women in my family, from the home country of Luxembourg to my sister and my niece, and you can ask any one of them. I dare you. My parents took a leap of faith to let me follow other kids in the neighborhood to ringette and then on to softball and other high school sports. Surely none of us thought it would lead where it did, and I continue to thrive with tremendous family support and the trust of those around me, even when occasionally it must have looked like I have truly ridiculous decision-making skills or some skewed value system, as I missed a number of friends and family gatherings to play and to coach. And I know that there are many pioneering female athletes that came before me and made it possible for me to attend university on scholarship and play in international competitions. The most prolific of those competitions is the Olympics, and I'm happy to report that softball will be returning to the Olympics in 2020. Though while its absence is notable, the sport has flourished in those few years. Just recently, 31 countries participated in our World Championships. College softball is viewed on ESPN. Fast-pitch athletes have turned college softball careers into work as MLB analysts and million-dollar professional contracts. I played on sand lots and gravel fields where stadiums now stand, and took batting practice without video analysis or power sensors. But none of that really seems to matter. We thought we had it pretty good. And all things considered, I think it just serves to prove that there's never really a bad time to be involved in organized sports. In the 9 years as a member of the National Team Development Program, I earned the nickname Tracksuit. As a non-starter, I charted and kept stats and warmed up and tried to make a difference from the dugout. This wasn't without its challenges, but I learned a lot. My teammates were always the best in the country, in the province or the city, and on a few occasions my opponents were the best in the world. I did, without a doubt, have extraordinary coaches, from the moms and dads in the neighborhood and local associations that I grew up in, to the teachers in the Regina High School Athletic Association, on Team Saskatchewan, and more. All of them gave me something I could carry forward to the next level. Once and for all, gratitude doesn't go without saying, and I'm truly grateful to be connected to the Regina Sports Hall of Fame and all of the amazing people here tonight. I'm honored to have been nominated and selected, and glad to have this opportunity to thank all the really great people in my life. I'm still pretty passionate about participation in sports, and events like this serve to renew the reasons that we all have to continue to be athletes and to work with athletes of all ages. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
Our next inductees this evening are Leah Holiday and Jennifer Tanyard, team inductees in the sport of baton twirling. Both individually and as a team, Leah Holiday and Jennifer Tanyard have enjoyed outstanding careers in their sport. The duo won gold in the senior pairs competition at the 1999 World Baton Twirling Federation Championships in Daytona Beach, Florida. Their gold medal helped Canada place 4th overall in the overall team competition. The two were named both the Saskatchewan Baton Twirling Association and the Canadian Baton Twirling Association's Team of the Year in 1999. Holiday and Tanyard were also an integral part of the Canadian team that won bronze at the 1998 World Championships in Villeurbanne, France. Individually, Leah attended a total of 10 World Championships, finishing 7th in the junior women's event at the 1991 World Championships in Padova, Italy. The following year was an 8th-place finish at the Worlds in Paris, France. 1993 brought about another trip to the World Championships, this time in Den Bosch in the Netherlands, and yielded not only another top 10 finish in the junior women's event, but also a silver medal in the team competition. It was a home date in 1994 in Newmarket, Ontario that saw another silver medal in the team competition, and then back overseas in 1995 in Geneva, where she won bronze in the team competition and teamed up with her sister Cheryl to win silver in the pairs events. 1996 took them to Genova in Italy, where she posted her best finish in the senior freestyle competition, placing 5th. 1997 was Honolulu, Hawaii, an 8th-place finish in the senior women's division. And 1998 was the aforementioned Villeurbanne, France, where Leah and Jennifer were part of the 9-member squad that won bronze in the team competition. And as I had mentioned, 99 was the year that Holiday finally stood atop the podium at the World Championships, pairing with Tanyard to win gold in the senior pairs event in Daytona Beach. In 2000, she was recognized by the World Baton Twirling Federation for her 10th appearance at the World Championships, once again held in Den Bosch in the Netherlands. Clearly, as they had started to reuse World Championship host cities, she thought there was no point in continuing to compete at that level. Jennifer Tanyard competed in 4 World Championships over the course of her storied career, and also enjoyed success in both the individual and team competitions as well. Her first trip was the 1996 event with a 5th-place finish in the junior women's division, a result that would go on to earn her the Junior Athlete of the Year award from the Saskatchewan Baton Twirling Association. The following year, she would climb 1 rung higher on the ladder, placing 4th in the junior women's division, once again earning the Junior Athlete of the Year award from the Provincial Association. Jennifer, as was mentioned, was part of that team that won the bronze at the 98 Worlds in France, also placing 9th in the individual women's competition, and recognized again by the Provincial Association as the Athlete of the Year, this time in the senior division. 1999 was the high water mark, another outstanding year for Jennifer, that gold medal performance with Leah in the pairs competition, as well as a 9th-place finish in the senior women's events. In 1999, Leah and Jennifer's accomplishments were recognized when they were nominated for the Sask Sport Team of the Year Award, and they are recognized again here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the newest members of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame's 2016 induction class, Leah Holiday and Jennifer Tanyard.
Thank you so much for having us here tonight. And we were just saying over at the table that this is more nerve-wracking than actually performing, standing up here and talking to all of you. So good evening, everyone. It's a great privilege to be here tonight as an inductee of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. It's very humbling to be up here with the 5 other exemplary athletes, events, organizations, amazing athletes. So congratulations to everyone tonight. It is a true pleasure to be named among you. I'd like to start by thanking the Saskatchewan Baton Twirling Association for nominating Jennifer and myself for this honor. The sport of baton twirling has not gained the recognition of other competitive sports. However, it is a sport that takes equal dedication, perseverance, and hard work. I truly believe that our sport has received support and recognition from the City of Regina throughout the years. This is evident as we are standing here tonight. Thank you to the Regina Sports Hall of Fame for recognizing us as part of the class of 2016. We're truly honored. I also need to thank the person who is responsible for providing Jenny and I with the tools we needed to succeed. Our coach, Maureen Johnson, who's here tonight, was and continues to be a key figure in the growth and development of the sport of baton twirling, not only in our city, in our province, and in our country, but really around the globe. The recognition our sport has received in Regina, Saskatchewan, and Canada has been a direct result of the commitment and world-class instruction she has provided for over 60 years. Without Maureen, none of this would have been possible. So thank you, Maureen. You were like a second mother to me and all of the Buffalo Gals. Your support and guidance taught me many lessons throughout the years and helped me to become the person I am today. Not to forget also, I would also like to recognize our other coach, Alan Kramer. He passed away in the year 2000, less than 6 months after Jenny and I won our world championship, so we were pretty happy to have had him with us at the time. His expertise and passion for the sport of baton twirling instilled a fun and challenging environment that helped me to grow and develop further as a competitive athlete. Alan brought a new level to our skills as baton twirlers and was also a great supporter of Jenny and I, as well as the Buffalo Gals team. There were many people involved in supporting me and my goals throughout the years. I'm going to try not to get emotional, but first and foremost, thank you to my parents. Sorry. This is especially hard because my mom passed away in the year 2000. So, Sharon and Dave Holiday, I could not have asked for better parents, loving and caring. They dedicated their lives to ensuring their kids had absolutely everything they could possibly need to excel and become good, successful people. If any of you know my parents, which I know there's a lot of people out here actually that would know my parents, you would have experienced the hospitality of the Holiday Inn at some point, or a house party. We often described our family as a giant amoeba, encircling everyone around us. My parents opened their home to numerous baton twirling billets for summers of world's training. And my mom, who passed away in 2010, would have been so proud to be here tonight. She was truly my biggest fan and a huge supporter of Marine, the Buffalo Gals, and the sport of baton twirling. Her upbeat spirit and constant energy often provided me with a much-needed boost when I was down or discouraged. And she was always there to be my cheerleader through every performance. You could often see her waving her Canadian flag in the stands, if you remember. It always had a little teddy bear on it too, so imagine that. And I can't forget my dad, who is here tonight to support me. And he is and was and always will be the hardest working man I've ever known. The work ethic I needed to succeed in my sport and life was found in the wonderful role model known as my dad. He could be found working 4 to 5 jobs at a time, just to ensure that we were able to continue doing the things that we loved. I cannot begin to thank my parents enough for the countless hours of bingos, fundraisers, and driving they endured to allow me to participate in 10 consecutive world championships. I was also very lucky to be part of a great team of people, baton twirlers, and parents. I had the privilege of being part of the Sundown Optimist Buffalo Gals. This provided me with the chance to look up to other great baton twirlers, which helped me to aspire to become the best I could be. My peers, including my sister Cheryl, pushed me to become an even better twirler than I could have ever dreamed. The most important thank you of all goes to my partner, Jenny. Without you, none of this would be possible. It was always a pleasure to be in the gym with you each and every day. We had a lot of fun, even though we had to work exceptionally hard to achieve the ultimate goal of becoming world champions. And we tended to get into a little bit of mischief too. It was an honor to stand on that podium with you then, and it's an honor to be up here with you today. Although we have not seen each other in many years, I think of you often, and I'm grateful to have had you part of my life. And you always will be, so no one can ever take that away from us. In conclusion, I can't forget the people that support me today. I'm so very proud to be here with my family, my wonderful husband Todd, and my 3 beautiful children, London, Easton, and Sawyer. I can only hope that I can support and guide my children the way I've been supported throughout the years. Also, a big thank you to the rest of my family who's also come here tonight to celebrate with us. My grandma, my Auntie Sandra, my Uncle Mike, and my dad's wife, Pam. So thank you so much. Once again, thanks again to the Regina Sports Hall of Fame for recognizing Jennifer and I. This will be another great milestone in my life.
I'd like to start by just thanking the Regina Sports Hall of Fame and its board for this honor and for hosting this beautiful evening tonight. And I particularly want to thank them for recognizing a sport which is not necessarily mainstream. And thank you so much for sharing the video, because I think it really brings to life what is baton twirling for people that might not be familiar with it. As Leah mentioned, we definitely are sharing this award tonight with our coach, Maureen Johnson, who is a huge part of this. She's a former inductee, and she truly provided us with a world-class education in baton twirling and in dance as well. Her beautiful choreography and training program were really the things that set us apart when we were competing. And she has really put Regina on the map for the sport of baton and also for dance with the Martin School of Dance and Baton. I would also like to thank and congratulate my friend Leah We decided to do the pair really just as a fun project because we were in the gym for hours and we got along so well, and we just thought that would be the most fun, and it really wasn't something we thought about competing with that much. We just really had a passion for doing it together. So winning the world championship with the routine was really just a bonus, and I think we would have done it regardless. It was so fun. And finally, thank you to my parents for so much support, so much driving, so much fundraising, and really just for providing me with everything I needed to make many of my dreams a reality. Congratulations to the other inductees here tonight, and thank you for all our friends and family that are joining us to celebrate. Thanks.
Our next inductee this evening into the 2016 induction class of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame is Glenn Ficula, a builder in the sport of basketball. If you've played basketball in or around Regina at any point over the last 3 decades, there's no doubt that you know Glenn, and there's no doubt that you've probably lost to one or more of his teams. Glenn enjoyed a remarkable run as the senior boys basketball coach at Balfour Collegiate, holding the post for 29 seasons. And while everyone knows him as the Balfour coach, it is his high school coaching career that actually began at Tom Collegiate, where he was the junior coach for 6 seasons. Now, in his time at Balfour, Glenn's teams qualified for the city championships an astonishing 21 times, winning 9 crowns, 4 provincial banners, and 2 LIT titles. Many of his players have gone on to have tremendous success at the university level, players like Whit Hornsberger, Levi Van, Rob Thompson, John Salgado, Paul Schubach, Brennan Schwartz, Rhett Burgess, Scott Goebel, Bill Johnson, even Glenn's own son Brad, all going on to enjoy fine careers at the CIS level. Teal Orban, most recognizable as one of the best quarterbacks to play in the CIS, was a standout basketball player for Glenn's team as a senior, winning a provincial championship in consecutive seasons in both 2003 and again in 2004. Now, when Glenn arrived at Balfour in the mid-'80s, basketball at the school was suffering. He had fewer than a dozen players try out in his first season as coach, although that does make cuts a little bit easier to navigate. But it wouldn't take very long for Glenn to turn things around as Balfour made an appearance in the provincial championships in the following season. Glenn initiated the Balfour Junior and Senior Basketball Classics, both of which would go on to become marquee tournaments on the Regina High School sports calendar. Glenn's tournaments were must-see, must-do events, and as much as he understood the importance of putting on a showcase event, he also understood that the Balfour Classic provided his athletes with an opportunity to test themselves against some of the very best teams in the province. And it certainly didn't hurt his feelings at all if he was labeled as a poor host by winning his own tournament, something that his teams did on 7 occasions, most recently in 2010. Not surprisingly, Balfour chose to rename their senior tournament in Glenn's honor in 2015 following his retirement from teaching. In addition to his time at Balfour, over the years, Glenn found time to devote to the development of basketball at other levels as well, coaching at Ethel Milliken School, numerous Regina Community Basketball Association teams, a stint as an assistant coach at the University of Regina, and instructing at countless camps and clinics. Glenn has received multiple awards over the years from both the Regina and Saskatchewan High School Athletic Associations. He served on the Regina High School Athletic Association board, including a 7-year stint as president, was president of Basketball Saskatchewan and director of various tournaments. Before he was a standout coach, he was a pretty good basketball player himself, coached by Lauren Aston at Sheldon Williams Collegiate. He won a city championship in 1974 before joining the University of Regina Cougars, where he played from 1975 through 1979, and was named by the University of Regina's athletic department to their 10th anniversary All-Star team in 1984. Now, as much as all the wins and all the titles are nice, Glenn has always maintained that for him, the connection that he makes with his athletes is what has motivated him over the years. He is on record as having said that the most rewarding aspect of a life dedicated to coaching is when a former player comes back and tells him that playing high school basketball was one of the greatest times of their lives. And judging by the number of former players in attendance here tonight, Glenn, it is clear that you have made a difference in the lives of many. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the newest member of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, Gwen Facula.
It's always good when a former basketball coach has to live out his dreams now with a pebble skin portfolio because you can't get in the gym anymore. So this is as close as it gets here. So that's why I carry it close to my heart here. It's always also nice too when you have a bunch of pictures for you here about your career, and some of them are in black and white. That makes you feel young. Anyway, also, how old do you feel when one of the other Hall of Fame nominees calls you Mr. Facula? I'm going. Anyway, the mustache. Eh? So Kathy Glasser phones me and goes, "We need a picture of for the thing." And I said, "Okay." And I kind of procrastinated a couple days. And I go, "Okay." And he had a head and shoulder shot. Okay. So for 35 years, I took school pictures along with the students, right? So you think I could find 35 of those little plastic things got to be in the house somewhere, or I don't know. Anyway, I came up with this one and go, that's about mid-career, about 1999 in there. I had the stash, and let's go with it. So the story with the stash and why I don't have it anymore is when in 99, actually, about mid-season, I said to the team, if we win the city championship, I'll shave my mustache off, right? Not thinking we didn't have a chance, I didn't think. Anyway, sure enough, the guys rose up and we won the city championship, and they made a big to-do about it here. Then a couple of years later, I said, maybe I should, my wife said, maybe you should grow it back or whatever. So I started growing it back or whatever, and it was coming in really gray. I'm going, no, I think my mustache days are over. Anyway, Chris, thanks very much. I enjoyed working with Chris over the years, CTV, and while he was there for however many years, he certainly helped to promote high school sports. I'm a big proponent of promoting high school sports. I think youth and community sports are the best game in town. The LIT, I've often said at their press conferences, this is the premier sports event in the province. The intensity of the old gym in particular, with, as Chris mentioned, 1,500 people in a gym that should seat about 800, was absolutely nuts in the most positive way. So, it was a great, I don't know how, we were fortunate enough to win a couple, and thankfully they didn't show the video in the LIT of them beating us by 1 in 1990 in a great game. To tell you a little story here, the LIT that year, Luther was in the final. They had 2 7-foot kids playing, and every one of their starters went on to play university basketball. So this is in February of 1990. Crowd was nuts. The Luther hadn't won since 86 or 84 or whatever when Bill Knudsen hit the big shot. Anyway, we're in the final, and my 5'10" guys are up against these 7-footers, and the place is absolutely bonkers in there in the pregame. So I actually kind of go in to see what was happening, and it was complete bedlam. I actually went to the back to the team room and said, we're not going to warm up. Like I said to my coaches, I said, we're going to say that there's whatever to the team, and we actually did not go out for the pregame warm-up because I thought my guys would be so intimidated by everything about this whole thing. Anyway, it worked out okay, and we lost by a point at the buzzer and so on, but from that point in time, the guys were saying, warm-up's overrated, coach. You don't have to go out there, but anyway, so. Thanks very much to the 3 or 4 tables of, I was very surprised and it was awesome. 3 or 4 tables of Balfour teachers and coaching alumni and parents and just a great turnout of long-time friends. So I really appreciate that on a special time like this, and it's awesome that you guys could make it in such a wonderful, pleasant night. At any rate, I also want to thank Mike O'Donnell here, who was instrumental. I got back from a little trip down south last spring, and he was instrumental in my nomination. He called me up, and we got together, and he said, I think I want to nominate you for this. And my first thought was like, really, am I worthy of this? And he assured me that he thought I was, he thought I was, etc. And so he put forward the thing, which is a considerable process. It's letters of reference and all sorts of things, so I really appreciate it. And now that my nomination is accepted, I'd like to formally thank the board members of the Hall for thinking that my efforts in the sport of basketball are worthy of an induction in this very distinguished group of Regina school and community sports leaders. I greatly respect the previous inductees, so to now be included with them is a bit surreal. As I looked at the 84 members before, not only that, the members that are in it, I look around this room and I felt like I must have had interactions with 2/3 of the people in this room, as I'm sure most of you other in the Regina sporting community have, where you just over the years, if you've been here for a long time, you've worked together on various events or sports or Canada Games or what have you. It's a great community. As a side story here, when I coached in the 2001, I used to tell my Regina kids here, you have a great opportunity to get in all of the big tournaments in Canada. Steve Burrows and I coached in the 2001 Canada Games in London. We were talking to the Ontario boys basketball coaches. We were coaching at SAS Boys. And I asked, so how many guys would come out for your team in Ontario for this, for the Canada Games? A little over 700. We had 27 boys come out for the team. 700. I go, well, how is that even physically possible? They go, well, we go to the 10 universities and we advertise, and 70 come out to each gym, and we try and pick a 12-man team. We lost to Ontario in overtime, coached by Dave Smart now, who was a longtime Carleton head coach at the time, in overtime. So I said to the guys, like, here you are in Saskatchewan, work at your game a little bit, put forth a little effort, and you can be in the same place as these guys are fighting amongst 700. So Regina is a great place to be involved in sport, and opportunities are endless. Frank called me in the summer. He called me in the mid tournament. We were running the Basketball Canada National Championship under 15, under 17 girls tournament out at the university this summer. And mid afternoon he calls me, and Frank was one of my all-time favorite students at Balfour, and not just because he's here. He was a great guy and great student. Just a pleasure to teach. Anyway, very humble, and of course at the time he was already being earmarked for junior hockey and a great career in hockey and so on. So he was very humble, but as you can see, a big kid with a great heart and an all-around good guy. Anyway, he phones me up, and when I first saw it, even though I knew Frank was like, Frank's a policeman, like, what Frank? What Frank? Like, what's the trouble here? And you go, no, and then he runs, oh yeah, so it's the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations, you've been accepted, and so on. So it was great to have Frank give me the news, and it's great to be in the hall. At this time, Thanksgiving weekend and so on, I thought as goes with all these type of inductions and so on, you got to thank some people. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. You got to thank some people that were special in your life and your basketball career. First and foremost, my wife Brenda. I'd like to thank my loving partner in all of this, my wife Brenda. None of my involvement would have taken place if she wasn't totally supportive of my time and efforts for the past 40 plus years. I think everyone that has been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and each and every one of you tonight would agree that without their spouse' great support, they could just not have been so involved in sport. Spouses make sacrifices so that their partners can spend so much time coaching and organizing. I'd like at this time to please join me in applauding my wife Brenda, along with very supportive spouses gathered here. If she's tearing up right now, that's okay. Chris had her tearing up in the opening dialogue, so she's just like that. At any rate, I'd also like, even though this is about me, my children inspired me to continue coaching, and they're here tonight. My daughter Ashley and my son Brad I'd like to thank them for being great kids and now adults, and for their great devotion to basketball and sports in general. They really helped to inspire my coaching career. After his Balfour teams won 3 city high school championships, Brad went on to follow his dad and become an excellent player for the U of R Cougars basketball team. Ashley was on 4 high school city championship basketball teams at Balfour, and on 1 high school softball championship team coached by Karen Thull. I had the pleasure of coaching with Karen that year. Karen's a fantastic coach, and she showed me that the soft-spoken coaching approach can actually work to city championships. So I tried to take that to heart. Ashley accepted a scholarship for basketball and softball at Dawson College in Montana, where in her first year she was named a junior college All-American as softball pitcher. My son sits around with all his buddies, and they talk, big time about their athletics. I said, "Oh, really? Any of you All-Americans, you boys? Any of you? Anybody? And then that sort of shuts them up for about 10 seconds. Anyway, I'm very proud of both of the outstanding individuals that they've grown up to become. I was also very proud to see Brad return to coach the Balfour Junior Boys and lead them to 3 city championships in 4 years. I'm so happy that our 2 children are very interested in sports on a year-round basis. Basketball and sports in general have been a major part of our lives. We met hundreds of people through involvement in sport, some who have chosen to attend tonight, and I greatly appreciate you being here. Ever wonder how you got involved in sport, regardless of what sport? You ever think back, now you've been involved for anywhere from 10 to 20 to 40 to 50 years. You think back, how did I get so involved in this game? Like, where did that happen? I was born in a small town in central Manitoba, actually, in the Ukrainian-Canadian belt there north of Dauphin. And the elementary school didn't have a gym, so let alone basketball hoops. So anyway, when I came to Regina here in 1963, I was at McLeod and Argyle schools, and Argyle had a team. We got introduced to it there. Then the next year I went to Sheldon, and unfortunately my high school career experience didn't go well. I used to tell all my students here that we got to Sheldon, and about 70 guys would try out for the team at Sheldon because they had a big high-profile program. For the grade 9 and 10 only boys, 70 boys would come out for a 12-man team. So I came out for that team, and I didn't know basketball from cricket. I mean, I played, and I know the ball goes through the rim, but I didn't know anything about the game. And my parents were very sports-minded. They loved the Blue Jays and the Riders and so on, but they didn't know anything about basketball. So I was strictly on my own. I'm an only child, so no older brothers, nobody to drag me out there and show me what it's about. Anyway, we go out to this first tryout, and we warm up for a bit. 30 seconds, or we go into the start of the tryout. The coaches call us in and say, line up on the sideline. So we did, and the coaches at that time said, listen, we've seen you, in phys ed class, and I know it's only 30 seconds into the first practice, but I'm sorry. And then just went down the line and said, your cut, you stay, your cut. And he pointed at me, your cut, and I said to my guy beside me, what did he say? I think he said your cut. Oh, okay. So I had my brand new canvas Converse Chuck Taylor runners, and I think I probably phoned my mother or father, who had just gotten home from dropping me off, and said, oh, come on back, my basketball career is over here. So I did. I changed out, and I thought about what other sporting pursuit I would have. But anyway, in grade 10, I went out again, and a guy by the name of Jerry Borland, who you might know, who's a longtime teacher and principal in the city, he was a recent graduate of Sheldon, and he somehow, I don't know what he saw in me, but I stuck on the team. I wasn't even really that tall at that point in time, still knowing nothing really about the game. But anyway, if it were not for him seeing something in me and putting me on the team, I might have had a completely different career path, and who knows? I could be farming in northern Manitoba right now. But luckily, it didn't turn out that way. A couple of years later, I joined up with, after I'd been in the junior team for grade 10 and 11 with Ray Jacoby, who had been on the senior team for all 4 years. He was a hotshot skilled player of the Jacoby family in Regina, basketball and tennis family, and we managed to win a city championship. Ray and I went on and played 4 more years of university with the Cougars, and 25 more years of senior men's basketball. Ray went back and coached. He was a teacher coach at Sheldon, and I was at Belfort for all those years. We've had a great time. I really appreciate Ray and Nancy being here tonight. They're great friends of ours, and although I'm winning the battle of hair right now over Ray, I attribute that. I tell him it's just good, clean living, and other than that, he beats me up in the tennis court, and so on and so forth. I mentioned lastly here that Frank, we were on this locker talk show here taping last week, and I mentioned to Frank, and I was there in the waiting room, that some of the winters I had were pretty busy, and so I was telling him, I said, besides coaching this is in the past year, Belfort senior boys, plus leading the organization of 3 annual Belfort basketball tournaments, coaching my children's RCBA and elementary school teams, playing on 2 men's basketball teams. Some winters that meant being in the gym for over 120 games, not to mention the team practices. In addition to 10 years, my brother-in-law, Ron Cherkis, and I organized 100 boys to bus down to the Montana State Summer Basketball Camp. Those are great trips, and with boys from all over Regina. I want to thank Ron and the Cherkis family for all their support over the years. It's been great. In my spare time, as Chris mentioned, for 7 of those years, I served as the president of the Regina High School Association and Basketball Saskatchewan, some years both at the same time. What's spare time? Like, how am I still married? I don't know how that happened. But anyway, it was busy. Frank said, you got to use that in your speech. That's just crazy talk. I'd like to also thank, as I conclude here, my assistants, longtime assistants here, Scott Babcock, Rob Thompson, Spence Burgess, Mick Panko, and son Brad, and Tanner Brightman, who you saw in the Luther video here. He's interning over at Luther right now. Tanner's already at a young age one of Saskatchewan's top coaches, and the current senior boys coach at Belfort. These guys are all great coaches, with very knowledgeable and enthusiastic, who brought a lot of experience and insight to the gym, and in many cases made me look good with their behind-the-scenes decisions and team preparation. Oh, and of course, there's one more longtime assistance coach, my wife Brenda, whose post-game hindsight analysis of around 1,400 high school basketball games during our car rides home actually became more and more intuitive as the years went by. Not that they weren't in the early years, dear, but many times I actually offered her a seat on the bench for our next game, but she always declined the opportunity. But you know what? I always did appreciate her genuine interest in the team, and it's a lot better that way than the other. I'd also, here in attendance, is thanking our coaches. In fact, I'd like to have the other 3 Belfort coaches that stand up. Wendy Bolesky and Les Schmidt and Spence Burgess. Please stand up for a second here. Oh, Wendy. Wendy has provided great leadership and excellent coaching of Balfour girls for 32 years and was a great influence in my time there. We coached the senior teams at Balfour for 26 years. These three and myself coached at Balfour. I think this is a North American record. I'd like that. There's no way I've ever known. 22 years. Well, Wendy and I was 26 years. The four of us coached at Balfour for 22 years. I don't know of any other high school in Canada that would be even close. I mean, typically you bring in a couple of junior coaches, they coach for a year and they're gone, and people are on the move and so on. But 22 years is outstanding. It meant that our program was obviously very strong, and these are knowledgeable. So thank you very much, guys. It was a great ride, and we have many great memories. Basketball is a great sport. I mean, everyone has their favorites, and I always say, if you've got grandchildren or children that are looking to get involved in a sport, here you've got a low-cost sport. It's school-related. It's played indoors and outdoors. Low collision, no really, minimal, in the concussion world, minimal concussion business. Just a lifelong sport and so on. I mean, it's just a great game, and I'm so happy that I got involved with it for the past 47 years. It's something that I would direct any young person to be involved in. In closing, thank you to everyone who's been a part of my family's great ride with basketball in this city. My experience with basketball may not be over as I continue to get some requests to help out with tournaments and instructional camps, and who knows, I might decide to coach again. However, this event brings a bit of closure to my first 47 years in the sport of basketball, and again, I thank everyone on the Regina Hall Committee for the honor, all the student athletes that I've had the pleasure of coaching, and everyone who has come to this evening in support of my induction. The time we have spent together around the sport will hopefully continue to provide great memories for all of us for the rest of our lives. Thanks very much.
And our final inductee into the 2016 Regina Sports Hall of Fame induction class this evening is in the team category. It is the 1993-1994 Regina Pat Canadians in the sport of hockey. Hockey teams approach their season in a variety of fashions. For some, the start of the year brings about an optimism, a confidence that permeates the room, that the outcome at the end of the season is some sort of foregone conclusion. For others, the breaking of camp already has coaches and players looking ahead to see when the last regular season game might be, knowing that it is going to be a long prairie winter that lies ahead. The 1993-1994 Regina Pat Canadians came into their season with a quiet confidence. Other teams, admittedly, may have had a better collection of players, but nobody embraced the team concept better than that particular installment of the Pat C's. The foundation of excellence that was set before them by previous Pat Canadian clubs was known to the group in the room. They knew that the expectation for success was great, and they were prepared to meet that challenge. As the season unfolded, there was nothing particularly spectacular about the campaign that the Patsies enjoyed that year. They won more than they lost, but there were no great streaks, no power surges along the way that gave them any indication of the eventual success that they would ultimately enjoy. The annual Max Christmas tournament in Calgary may very well have set the table for the back half of their season. The midget Calgary Flames, last in the Alberta Loop, scored 14 goals against the Patsies at the tournament. The result served as a wake-up call to the players and coaches in the room, and they vowed, all agreeing that such a result was unacceptable, vowing that it would never again be repeated. Now, as much as the national tournament is the pinnacle of midget hockey, it was actually the regional tournament that probably provided the stiffest test that the Patsies would face along the way. Thunder Bay and Regina battled hammer and tongs for the regional crown, with the Pat Canadians ultimately prevailing and sending them to the national championship in Brandon. At the Nationals, it was Gatineau and Red Deer that had come in with the biggest targets on their chests, leaving Regina to do what it is that they had done all season long: play the game hard, play the game fair, and play the game without much in the way of fanfare. And as had been the case throughout the season, the Pat Canadians won the right games at the right time, setting up a semifinal with Daniel Briere and the Gatineau Club. The 3-1 win over the Quebec champions had the Patsies punching their ticket to the gold medal game, where they would take on a team from Red Deer. In the final game, regulation would not be enough to decide the contest. And it took until the 10-minute mark of the second overtime, and the team cemented their place in the Regina sports landscape at that moment, when I believe it was Joel Irving, if I'm not mistaken, that scored the game-winning goal on a play that the team, as the coaches point out, had practiced daily for the previous 6 months. Many of the 1993-1994 Regina Pat Canadians are in attendance with us tonight. Matt Landry, Trevor McMorris, Jason Hodel, Chris Riddell, Joel Irving, Lance Lazarick, Ryan Letness, Aaron Carpan, Steve Federico, Brad Walters, Tom Johnson, Wade Strand, Aaron Sparvier, Jamie Burgess, Jason Bird, Jared Adams, Chad Wilczynski, Colin Anderson, and Daryl Fisher. The coaching staff that year, Cal Peranto, Drew Callender, and Dave Dunn, assisted ably in the manager's position by Ken Namath. And of course the trainers, always important, Darla Tidball, Carla Schatz, and Mark Simpson. Ladies and gentlemen, the newest inductees into the Regina Hall of Fame 2016 induction class, the 1993-1994 Regina Pat Canadians.
Good evening. I'm Ken Namath, the manager of the guys you see on the wall over there. I'm the guy with the big mustache in the middle. Kind of like that other guy who had the mustache there. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the inductees in ceremonies tonight. I know it's a lot of personal effort goes into and sacrifices going along the way to your achievements, so congratulations to all of you. I'd also like to thank the Hall of Fame people, Kathy Glasser and Frankie, as well as the rest of you people for giving us this honor. I have a lot of thanks to make tonight, but Cal told me I only got a minute, so he's down to 45 seconds already. I'd like to thank my wife Sharon for bearing with me all these times that I was on the road with the club, and not only this year but other years, and allowing me the time to gain in this venture as I was busy playing manager. I'd like to thank the trainers on the club, Carla and Darla, for being the best people that you could be working with, the likes of the guys that you see there, with all the shenanigans that they try to pull on these girls, and they did a fantastic job. Players, quite a number of you are here tonight. I think Dave's got a list of who's missing and who's not here, and I have that as well, but thank you very much for all you guys coming some far distances. Some from, well, we got Jared Adams come from England, and we got other guys coming from the U.S. and all over different places in Canada. At a tremendous cost to those young guys. Of course, many of them got good jobs and paying a hell of a lot more than I get these days. And I'd like to thank Aaron Carpin and Jamie Burgess for helping me with the contacts this year to getting a hold of these young guys. And like after 23 years, where the hell do you get a hold of these guys from, eh? As a matter of fact, just a little side note, I was looking at the front of this thing, and it's the 14th Annual Hall of Fame thing, and we've been around for 23 years. We won this thing. Where the hell were you guys? Like, what took so long to recognize us? I want to make a little note here about one of the comments that was made from one of the players on our way back from Brandon back in '94. It was Matt Landry. Matt's not with us here tonight, and he's on the bus at the back of the bus, and he shouts out, he says, so who do we play tomorrow? And he says, nobody, we beat the hell out of everybody. So I'd like to thank all these coaches for allowing me to work with them and alongside of them. It was truly a really good experience. I'm very proud of these guys. They were very considerate with the players, very upstanding. It was a joy to see this all. Although I never got to all the practices and seen all of them, it was really a glad and good thing for me to see with these guys and work with them. Without remorse or anything, I'd like to really pay a lot of attention to a real key component with team sports, and to the parents, the unsung heroes. I'd like to thank you very much for the work that you did with your young boys. You brought your sons up to very considerate and conscientious, respectful of everybody on the team, as well as the trainers and the coaches and myself. This doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a lot of work to bring young men up like this, and I can tell, even meeting the guys tonight, and some of them I couldn't recognize. Boy, I put on some weight. Boy, did they put on some weight. Wait till you're 65. So thank you for your unwavering support. Throughout the year, from the first initial meeting that we had with the parents when the club was made, you people did a fantastic job. I was very proud of everything that you did, and you're so cooperative. Didn't matter what we had, you guys worked very well. I did a tally at the end of the year in 1994, the year we won this cup. We had raised $80,000 and spent $80,000 that year. We didn't have any money left in the bank after we had done all this, And it's all because of you people. You people did all the work. I shuffled some papers and showed up at some practices and did some organizing. But the work went from you people, the work that you people did, and these guys here along with the trainers. So I thank you very much. The only reason I'm up here is because I got to shuffle some of the paper. So thank you to all of you. I'd like to let you know that to me, you guys are all leaders and winners. I thank you for allowing me to be a very small part of your lives. Thank you.
Hi. I had the honor of being called head coach, but I had two of the greatest coaches. You can ask my boys. Part of my job was to bring the best possible thing. Ice, buses, everything, to treat these guys like professionals. And what I got lucky at was finding Dave Dunn and Drew Callender. These guys, they know their hockey. They played it. And Kenny, thank you so much for everything. As Frank will tell you, we got a phone call from the WHL one time, the president of the WHL, please don't feed your kids so good. The Pats are saying, because they're only getting burgers, Kenny's feeding a steak. And so, Kenny, I want to thank you for all that, man. That was so great. I want to thank the parents. Kenny did that. I want to thank Carla and Darla. You guys are so professional. So professional. You guys are awesome. Once again, to our wives, who let us go a long time, man, sometimes 8 days. Thank you so much. Joyce, I love you so much. One quick team story, and then I'll get off here. We're in Winnipeg at the regionals, going against Thunder Bay that afternoon. We were pretty strict with being on time. We're in the hotel. Dunnard, Callender, and Kenny and I and our trainers are on the bus waiting. The boys are supposed to be on the bus at a certain time. And so I'm looking at my watch and I'm getting mad. Like Coach Glenn, we are very quiet. We talk very low. But we were getting upset, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Finally, I look at Kenny and I said, Kenny, got to go find these guys. We got to be at the rink here and play, in the regional finals. And So Kenny runs into the hotel. A couple minutes later, he comes out. He comes on the bus. His eyes are pretty wide. And then he looks at us, and he says, the boys are going to be a little couple more minutes. And I says, Kenny, what's wrong? And he says, well, you know how close they are? And I said, yeah, they're pretty close. They're a good team. He says, well, all 19 of them got on this elevator in the hotel, and they started coming down and overweight, right? So the elevator stops. They can't get out. The maintenance staff is working like crazy to get them out. I looked at Dunner and Callender, and I thought to myself, we're going to win this son of a gun. We're going to win it. That's how close they were. And you gotta be a team to be a champion. And these guys, they might not have been the best skilled team. I mean, Daniel Briere was a pretty good skilled player, but Jared Adams took care of him. By just, you know what I mean. But Jared took care of him. And this guy scored 122 goals for his team that year out of a total of 178. So we had to watch him, and we did. But I want to thank everybody involved. You guys, you players, you were national champions. You were the best. Thank you.
I just want to thank the Hall of Fame and Frank and your members for this great honor, and I'd like to thank Cal and Dave for inviting me to come and coach that team. I wasn't able to coach Pee Wee, so they asked me if I could come and help coach that. Now, what I'd like to do now is call up the guys that actually belong up here. Turn it over to Dave, and Dave's got a few things he wants to say.
First of all, I apologize for my voice. These boys have heard it raspy before, but for different reasons. I apologize also for my memory. They told me we had to put together a speech. I forgot that. But as you can see from our coaches, our memory's kind of bad because my wife reminds me that I forgot to put the fork down on occasion. But the worst case of memory was Cal and I coached together for like 8 or 9 years, the Pat Canadians, so we had a great relationship. And then Drew came along. But at some point in that, his son Clay was 8 or 9 years old. And we went out to play Notre Dame, the team that we wanted to beat every single year. And I assume we lost this game, I'm not sure. But we got on the bus, we got halfway back, and he says to me, Dave, where's Clay? That was my responsibility, make sure his 8-year-old son got back in the bus. We left him in Notre Dame. But as far as this team goes, any of the boys out here that are athletes and even parents of athletes, that there's something special about the moment you win. We were ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 every year with fabulous teams. And as Cal said, we had teams with much better forwards. We had other teams with much better defensemen. We had other teams with much better goaltenders. But we never had a team that was better than this team. They came together for various reasons. One maybe be the elevator. We had this rule that if you get picked to play on our team, you had to play. You weren't just here to be a player to fill a roster. So every player in our team had assignments, from power play to regular shifts to killing penalties. We had 2 different forecheck systems. We had a defensive zone system. We had a power play system. These 15, 16, and 17-year-old kids, they came to practice. We were very lucky as a Pat Canadian. First of all, we associated with Regina Pats. We got to pick a couple players off their out-of-town roster, and I think it was Chris and maybe, Trevor. They were our out-of-pick. So we had a real advantage over teams that didn't have the big city collection. But we didn't just go and say, he's a really good player, so we're taking him. We watched them play in other levels, and we picked players that we saw had the character to be champions. Even when they were 12 or 13, they didn't know what we were looking for. And that didn't mean that they were the best skaters. That was our job. We ran practices. We'd practice 5 days a week, 4:30. Ask the boys what the best time of day was every single day, 4:30. Every day they wanted to be coming to practice. They couldn't come to practice if they didn't have their grades. We wouldn't let him show up. If they did, one of the teammates would help him. They'd go to a room and help him get through that social class or physics class or whatever. Because we were teaching not hockey skills, we were teaching people skills, life skills. That you can't take on an assignment and not make a commitment to it. And that's what we taught. These kids learned assignments. They learned how to commit to their teammate. They knew how to work hard. We did not have perfect practices, because that would have been, we would have scrimmaged every day if it was a perfect practice from a player's point of view. Throw the puck out there, let's go and scrimmage. We practiced perfect. Every single day we practiced perfect. If it was a 3-on-2, you had to execute the 3-on-2. If you didn't, back it up, boys, let's do it again. Now, a 3-on-2 means you don't pass it in the guy's skate, you don't pass it behind, you pass it on the stick. And it's, yes, the overtime, the winning goal in overtime. It was a play that we practiced for 6 straight months. It might have got us a goal somewhere else, but we don't remember that one. We only remember the overtime goal. And it was a 3-on-2 play. It's a typical hockey play. You drive the center, you pass it wide, you throw it in the middle, and it after 70 minutes of hockey, I guess it was like 80 minutes of hockey, we had one opportunity to execute a play, and these boys were so committed through the year that when we said do it again, they didn't complain. They didn't like doing lines either, by the way, so they learned how to do it right. But we wanted them to practice perfect, not because we were going to win a championship, because that's what you do in life. If you want to have a marriage, you work at it, guys. It doesn't just happen, a good marriage, a good friendship. You don't get a career just because it falls out of the sky. You work at those things. The people that are committed to that go on to be very good citizens. And as you can see up on the stage, these boys are all successful. Some live in the States. Jared lives in London. Some of the guys that aren't here are RCMP officers. They couldn't get in for the schedule. I think there's only one player we couldn't track. Is that right?
Yep,
Matt Landry. Great. Where's Brad? These guys, they weren't gifted offensively, but they were gifted with their legs. I don't have any problem saying that, because we recognized we had guys that could score 40 goals if we wanted them to score 40 goals. But we needed guys that understood that they have good players too, and your job will be at times to shut those guys down. So these two guys were highly skilled hockey players, but they were skilled at something that an offensive guy might not be, and that was understanding how to defend. And when we said to them, you may not get any power plays this year, but you got to learn how to kill a penalty, because you're going to kill every penalty that we have. You get the first half, you guys get the second half. We had a power play unit, same thing. And that's how we ended up winning the championship, was commitment and dedication to the team philosophy of how we're going to win. As I said, things got to be perfect to be a champion, and anybody that's been one knows that. What was perfect about this was we played Yorkton, who the year before we got beat in Yorkton with a better group of talented players, but we didn't get the job done, and we didn't get to the regionals. So that was in our head for those guys that had been there the year before. They were pretty fixated when we came to camp the next year. Not going to let that happen again. So we beat Yorkton. Then we had to play the Blazers, who were very good that year. We ended up second, I believe, behind Notre Dame. But we knew we had to go through Notre Dame. We knew we had to go through. We didn't have a great tournament in Calgary. What was that one called, boys? The Max. The Max. The Pat Canadians hadn't won the Max. Every year we're the top team. We don't win it. And we had a kind of a blowout there. Apologize to Fish for that. Poor Fish got stuck in the net that night. But you know, what we had decided was important to us was just to do our assignments. Our goal going to Winnipeg and Brandon, it just worked out perfect. These were the two cities that were perfect for us to go to, because we had 2-hour bus rides, 2 and 3 hour bus rides. And we had, there was a book I had read about mental toughness and whatnot, so we were able to meet with each individual player going there, but we didn't focus on the tournament. We focused on bringing them down from the tournament, because we had convinced them that there are going to be way more important events in your life, guys. Playing in this cup is an achievement, but it isn't the most important thing that's going to happen to you in your life. Win or lose, it isn't going to be the most important. You're going to graduate, your graduation date, you're going to meet a lady and you're going to marry her. You're going to have your first child. There's all kinds of days coming up that are going to be more important. This is a week, guys, to reward yourselves for what you've done all year. And we stayed with that philosophy through the whole thing. And I remember we were worried about Quebec. They're a very good team. They ended up having only one player who almost beat us. We beat them 2-1, 3-1. That was it, because they had Daniel Briere, and every time he had the puck, we were holding our breath. But they didn't have the rest of the team. We did. We went against Red Deer, and they had beaten us in the round robin because it was a nothing game. We were already in the playoffs. We really didn't care. They might even beat us in Calgary. I don't remember. We weren't remotely worried, but they were the team. They had players that went on and played in the NHL. And the first 10-minute overtime is heavy ice and whatnot. We're coming in, the guys are tired and whatnot, and we're saying, hey guys, assignments, focus on your assignments, not a big deal. Somebody's going to get a goal here. It might be them. If they don't come out, Calgary, and get, I don't know whose assignment it was, but they missed the appointment. He walked right in from here to that camera, and he blasted it. And our goalie, who's not here tonight, RCMP officer in Surrey, he said, if you're going to score that goal, you're going to put it right through me, and he stood right up there, and I still to this day don't know how that puck didn't go in the net. That was in the first minute of the first or second minute of and we think it's over on the bench. Well, I mean, he walks all the way in, there isn't a Pac Canadian in the building. Where are they? But we got one chance at the 10-minute mark, one chance for us to execute, because these are two very good teams. One chance. That's all they had to give us, and we won. Now, I never thought to tell them at the time that this wasn't the biggest day of your life. Don't play like it is, because you won't be able to execute. I forgot to tell them 23 years from now we're going to get together, and that might be the biggest day of your life. To these boys up here, this is the team. These are the guys that deserve it. They came to play every day. We loved coaching them, and I want to thank them very much.